So Kian, welcome to PyCon Colombia 2018. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So how are you doing?
I'm good. Love the weather here. No, Bogota has been super nice so far.
Okay, so do you think that PyCon is good for you now?
Yeah, the event has been super well organized, so congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Yesterday I met a lot of people from everywhere in the world, so that was impressive, and it's incredible always to see. So my students and teams, they usually work with Python using deep learning frameworks or web frameworks or even data science frameworks. But I realized with all the talks that there's so much more to do with Python. There's just infinitely many opportunities.
Yesterday was your presentation, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel with that? Did you like the attenders, the questions? Tell us about your presentation and how did you feel?
Yeah, I think the presentation itself was interactive, so people were engaged, and I was happy to see that they were following and interested. And yeah, the question at the end, I think showed that a lot of people are hungry to learn artificial intelligence. So that was good.
Okay, cool. You are quite young and already involved in a lot of many efforts, right? So what do you think are the milestones that have you allowed to arrive at this point of your life?
Yeah, I don't know if it's milestones. I think progress is learning. So I think at several points of my life I learned different things. One was when I was in high school. I was not a good student, and I met this professor in math that convinced me to work hard and showed me that okay, hard work pays off at the end. So I'm grateful for this math professor in my high school, and then I think when I arrived at Stanford, meeting Professor Dan Bonnet, who gave me my first my assistantship for Stanford. That was a big moment for me, and I had the opportunity to learn from him on cryptography and cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And then meeting Andrew Ng, of course, who I learn every day from since I met him. So yeah, these are some milestones, and then I think yeah, that's
the milestone is stay.
It's just probably a continuous learning process and decisions in life, but I don't know. And there's always some part of luck. Acceptance in university in France, acceptance at Stanford was some milestones that I will remember because it opens the door every step to new opportunities, I think.
Okay, nice. You're a curious person, right?
I think so.
I mean, you have been part of different clubs, an astronomy club, football club, rail center perhaps. Why did you end up involved in each one?
Yeah, so there are things I like in life. When I was a kid, I wanted always to be a soccer player, football player, or a rapper, because that was what we were doing every day where I live. Every day after school, I would go play soccer for 4 hours, and then I would go home and sleep. So everybody wanted to be a football player, and I think that followed me all my life. So I think the football club, every time I joined a new school, university, job, I always wanted to continue to play football. Right. And I actually have my football gear with me here because every time I visit a new country, the first thing I do is I try to find a group who plays football, and because it's the best way to meet people. Yeah, I remember in 2014 I went in Shanghai Jiaotong Daxue in China. It's a university, and and I made a lot of friends very quickly, and it was because of football. Because I just took my gear and went in the field, and I met 30 people in the first day, and we became friends, and we ended up going out, and they were all Chinese, so that was new for me, and that was great.
Great. And the other clubs?
Yeah, I like astronomy. I'm not an expert. I'm just let's say, as a hobby. I like to look at the stars. I don't know all the stars, obviously, but I'm always curious about what's happening in space. I think I like it. And the red you mentioned is when I was in university in junior and senior years, I was part of a club of runners, and some were swimming and some were biking, and we were organizing a big event in the French and Swiss Alps.
Okay, nice.
And it was very nice to organize an event for people who like running.
How do you manage the balance between those activities and your professional life?
I think so when I was in school, it was easier to balance, of course, because involvement in activities and sports school and activities go together oftentimes. In France, many schools allow you to have one day a week maybe where you can dedicate yourself to an activity or a sport that you like. So that's how I was doing it. Now, at deeplearning.ai, landing.ai, AI Fund, we still manage our own time. So we have this relationship with each other where we trust, and if tonight I just want to go home and read a book, or I want to go and play football, I will go, and that's not a problem. So it's a really open trust relationship, which allows everyone to do what they also want to do, because we have to live.
Wow. Great. So, well, I know you speak French and English, but recently you started learning Chinese. Would you like to share that particular interest?
I like languages.
Yeah.
I started learning Chinese, and I thought it would be super hard as a language, but I realized that the grammar and conjugation in Chinese is very easy compared to languages like French or German, for example. What is super hard is the writing, like the characters. That's too hard for me. And the second one is the tones. So a same syllable said in different tones mean different words. So it's very complex. Like ma and ma mean two different things. Mom and horse, which is totally different. So we have to get used to that. It's not common in Spanish or French to have tones intensely.
Okay.
But that was good.
Did you make some business or some partnership with Chinese people?
We work at landing.ai with companies located in Asia. The first big partnership that Andrew Ng announced was with Foxconn, which is a giant manufacturer in Taiwan. It's not China, it's an island next to China. But yes, there is interaction with Asia as well. Sometimes when I meet some business partners, I try to chat in Chinese, but my Chinese is not that good. It's more daily life than business. Yeah.
But you could try and learn more. Okay. You have a strong Persian culture influence. Why is that?
Oh yeah. So I was born in France, but my family is Iranian.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a strong Persian influence. At home with my family, we speak Farsi. In France, I live with my mom, grandmother, and aunts, and my father lives not too far. But we all speak Farsi, and the Persian culture is something that I've been raised with. So it's really important to me.
Incredible. How did you apply that influence in your daily life?
I think one core one core concept that we keep in mind in the Persian culture is always put others, privilege others to you. It's very common, and I think that's just something I try to follow all the time, and it's something that we see a lot in the Persian culture. Every time you think about something, think first what other thinks and what they need before satisfying your own needs. So that follows me. Then in terms of work, I don't use Farsi as a language in a business context, but a lot of my friends, mostly in the United States, are Iranians, because the community is actually large in California, a lot larger than in France. But yeah, so when I joined Stanford, I actually realized that I never had Iranian friends, because back in France we were very few, and I arrive in the United States and I see so many Iranians, and I see the culture fits somehow, and the first time I met these friends, it was fun because my Farsi language is from my grandmother mostly, or my parents. And it's a very clean, like there's no bad words. I didn't know any bad words. So when I arrived in Stanford, and I met these young people who just came from Iran with very slang language, I had to learn. So there was this learning curve at the beginning where I had to learn all these very nice words.
I can guess. Okay, cool. Daskit, formerly Asker, was one of your first entrepreneurial projects. What was your motivation to join to that project?
So Asker, now it's Daskit, as you said, happened when I was in the university, Centrale Paris in France. And one day I was sitting in an amphitheater. We have very big amphitheaters, like 500 people.
Okay.
And there was a professor, and it was a hard class. So the professor was writing on the board a lot of formulas, and I see everyone around me writing, and I couldn't understand really what was happening. And my friend next to me, I asked him, like, do you understand what's happening here? He says, no. I say, but why are you writing? Why don't you just raise your hand and ask a question to the professor? And he says, I'll figure it out later.
Okay.
So then at the end of the class, I go see the professor and I tell him, do you think that the students understood this part of the course? And he mentions that nobody asked questions. So it seemed that it was
all the
going
people
okay.
Understand,
yeah. But then after talking with more people, one friend of mine who's Spanish, Ramon, and I, we realized that students are afraid of raising their hands because they don't want the others to know that they don't understand, even if nobody understands. And same. It's hard for the professor to understand that nobody's understanding if nobody raises problems. So we decided to build a first product based on this vision, which was very simple. It was a web application that you can access from various devices with a button. And this button, on it's written lost. So students, they can click on the button whenever they want during class. It's anonymous. And the professor on their end receive a counter saying like a certain percentage of the audience, a certain number of students clicked on lost at that moment. So maybe you should stop and re-explain, or maybe at the end of the class you can check the graph and see that some of the slides were probably too hard and you need to change it. So continuous changing of content. And students started clicking a lot, and that was fun. And then we expanded the panel of services with different features that were not only this one, but that last button was the beginning of Asker, which then became Daskit, and now is running in universities in France.
And that's not fun for the professor, just for the students and for you.
I mean, the professor gets advice and understands what are the students' concerns and misunderstandings.
Oh, of course, that is a great tool, and that is working right now. This is still working?
Yeah. So I'm not actively involved because I'm not in France anymore, but I follow from the United States what's happening, and there is an entrepreneur called Florent Barral who's leading Daskit right now in France. Yeah.
Okay, cool. A lot of people in the artificial intelligence community invite you. Andrew Ng is a rock star in the field of artificial intelligence around the world. So, how is working with him?
Yeah, working with Andrew Ng is inspiring. I think he's a great mentor. So just being next to him inspires me, and I think all other employees in deeplearning.ai, landing.ai, and AI Fund, Arista, to work hard, to have a good growth mindset and work ethic, because he's a very important visionary, I think. So I started working with him when I was a student at Stanford. And then we decided to create the deep learning specialization. So he taught me most of the things I know today in artificial intelligence, and that I'll be always grateful for. Yeah. Other things we learned from Andrew, I think one thing that Andrew has that is quite unique is that he is technical, so he understands artificial intelligence more than many people in the world, probably one of the persons that is the most thoughtful on it. And he's also he has a great emotional intelligence, I think. So he knows how to lead a business. He knows how to lead teams and grow companies, which is not common to have professors that both have the academic side, the researchers, and also the business side. So I'm grateful to learn both sides of academia and industry with him.
Okay, that is really nice. Tell us, please, about deeplearning.ai.
Yeah.
What is your motivation? What are your expectations about it?
Yeah. So I was always passionate about education, and I'm still highly involved in education. That's most of my work. And when I was a student at Stanford, Andrew one day asked me to come to his office. And we chatted, and he had this idea, which was, why don't we teach deep learning online? Because it seems that there is a need around the world. So some tech hubs already have deep learning where you can learn it from classes in universities, but widely around the world, it's not happening yet. So we spent some time writing content on deep learning. We published 5 courses. And when we published these courses, it was the launch of deeplearning.ai. Yeah. So the vision of deeplearning.ai is still the same, democratizing AI and make it accessible widely. We focused on technical people, so we're building courses for engineers, mostly who know coding and who know math, but want to delve into artificial intelligence. But we're announcing another course as well, which is coming very soon for non-technical people, and how product marketers, recruiters, business leaders, executive leaders can understand AI and can apply it in their companies or daily life. And that's going to come soon. So now there's also an aspect for non-technical.
Okay.
And so that's the vision of deeplearning.ai, and I'm excited about its future.
Okay, nice. So deeplearning AI, Arista, and Landing AI have opened an office in Medellin. What brings to Colombia?
Yeah. Good question. I think so. We opened in Medellin last year, and it's been going very well. So we have employees who started and working very hard and learning artificial intelligence for us. So our idea was we're good at teaching artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Right. We have a lot of content. We organize ourselves in among our teams to make sure everybody learns. The recruiter in my team is able right now to talk about artificial intelligence very technically, which is not common for a recruiter. And we make sure everybody learns. And we thought in Colombia, there is a very good pool of people who know coding. So you're from La Nacional Universidad, and you know that great students in your university know coding. There's a bunch of universities in Medellin, in Bogota, in all around Colombia, where students are good at coding but need this artificial intelligence step up.
Yeah.
And so our idea was we can open an office here, bring people that are strong coders or eventually have some machine learning expertise, and focus on teaching them artificial intelligence so that they can build products. So the gap between academia and industry. And we're trying to close this gap. And the reason we're in Colombia is because there is a good pool of talents and there is a good ecosystem. So Medellin is one of the most prominent tech hubs in South America. And it's very important for us to be involved in the community around artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool. A good opportunity for people here.
And and we hope that I hope that when this team will grow, it's going to attract more people into the field in Colombia, both other companies, because people who join, they will one day launch their own companies, they will one day create value for Colombia. So our hope is also that this knowledge will be retained in Colombia. That's very important, I think, and I think the people we talk to in Colombia are excited about it.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carlos.
We are so happy to have you here and enjoy the event.
Thank you.